You order the same thing at the restaurant, not because you love it. You stopped loving it a while ago. But choosing something new requires a kind of effort you don't have anymore. The menu feels like a test. The familiar option feels like relief. You watch the same shows, not because they're good, but because they're predictable. You know where they're going. You know how they'll make you feel, which is to say, they won't make you feel much at all. And that, somehow, has become the point. Your weekends follow a rhythm you didn't design, but no longer question. Sleep in, coffee, scroll. Maybe a walk if the weather's easy. Nothing demanding. Nothing that requires you to be more than half present. By Sunday night, you're not rested exactly, but you're not depleted either. You're neutral. Reset to zero. Ready to do it again. None of this feels like a problem. It feels like common sense. Why make things harder than they need to be? Why introduce friction when you could just not? But here's the thing about comfort. It doesn't announce itself as loss. It arrives as relief, as reward, as the reasonable thing. And by the time you notice what it's cost you, you've forgotten what it replaced. There's a version of comfort that restores, that lets you recover so you can return to something meaningful. And then there's another version, the kind that slowly becomes the whole structure, where rest isn't preparation for engagement, it's a replacement for it. Where ease isn't a break from life, it's a way of avoiding it entirely. The second version doesn't feel like avoidance. It feels like sanity, like wisdom, like finally figuring out how to stop making things so hard. But underneath, something else is happening. Desire is getting quieter. Curiosity is dimming. The range of what you're willing to want is shrinking, week by week, until wanting itself starts to feel like too much effort. At what point does comfort stop being a refuge and become the thing you need refuge from? The mind learns fast. It learns what causes stress, what produces friction, what requires effort. And once it learns, it starts optimizing. Not consciously. You don't decide to avoid difficulty. You just notice that one path is smoother, and you take it. Then you take it again. Then it becomes the only path you see. This is adaptation doing what it does best, removing obstacles. The problem is that it can't distinguish between obstacles that harm you and obstacles that grow you. It treats all resistance the same way. So the things that challenge you start to feel like threats. The things that require effort start to feel like mistakes. And slowly, without anyone deciding it, your life reorganizes itself around a single principle: minimize disturbance. The social self gets very good at this. It knows which commitments to avoid. It knows how to keep expectations low. It knows how to construct a life that asks almost nothing of you, and therefore risks almost nothing in return. From the outside, this can look like balance, like someone who's figured it out. But from the inside, something else is happening. When friction disappears, so does traction. The things that used to excite you lose their charge. The things that used to scare you stop appearing on the radar at all. Not because you've overcome them, but because you've arranged your life so you never have to face them. Your world gets smaller, not dramatically, just enough that you stop noticing the edges. And then something subtle shifts. The psyche, when it's no longer engaged with anything that resists it, starts to withdraw. Not in a dramatic way, not like depression, more like a slow dimming. Motivation fades, appetite decreases. The things you used to want stop calling to you. And you tell yourself this is peace, this is maturity, this is finally being okay. But peace and emptiness are not the same thing. One is the presence of stillness, the other is the absence of signal. When life becomes too smooth, meaning doesn't arrive to fill the space. Meaning requires friction. It requires something to push against, something to reach for. When you remove all resistance, you don't get fulfillment. You get a kind of quiet vacancy. Comfortable, yes, but strangely hollow. It doesn't look like laziness. Lazy people feel guilty. They know they're avoiding something. This is different. This feels justified, rational, like you've simply made intelligent choices about how to spend your limited energy. You feel relief when plans get canceled, not occasionally, almost always. The text that says, "Can't make it tonight," produces a small wave of pleasure, followed by an evening that disappears into nothing memorable. And you don't question it. You call it introversion, or boundaries, or self-care. And maybe it is, sometimes. But there's a version of relief that isn't rest. It's escape dressed as wisdom. You've stopped choosing what feels alive and started choosing what feels easy. The workout you skip because you're not feeling it. The project you never start because the timing isn't right. The conversation you avoid because it might be uncomfortable. Each choice makes sense in isolation. Together they form a pattern, a systematic retreat from anything that might require you to show up fully. Your weekends vanish, not into adventure, not into rest, not into connection, into a kind of pleasant fog. You consume shows, feeds, food, content, not because it nourishes, but because it passes time without demanding anything. By Sunday night, you've recovered from nothing and prepared for nothing. You've just waited. You mistake peace for fulfillment. The absence of stress feels like the presence of something good, but absence is just absence. You've removed the negative without replacing it with anything positive, and the result isn't happiness. It's a comfortable neutrality that feels like enough until you look up and realize years have passed. You've optimized for good enough. Good enough job, good enough relationship, good enough city, apartment, life. Nothing is wrong, exactly, but nothing is chosen either. Nothing is yours in the way that things are yours when you've risked something to get them. Everything is just acceptable, and acceptable has become the ceiling. There's a specific kind of tiredness that comes from doing nothing meaningful, not exhaustion, something flatter. You're not depleted because you spent yourself, you're depleted because you didn't. I'm not going to tell you to leave now your comfort zone. That phrase has been drained of all meaning, and the problem isn't that you're too comfortable in some surface way. The problem is deeper. Comfort has become the organizing principle, the thing every decision bends toward, the filter through which every option gets evaluated. The question isn't whether you should be uncomfortable, it's whether you've lost the ability to tolerate discomfort at all. Whether the part of you that once moved toward difficulty because something on the other side was worth it has gone quiet. Desire is not a comfortable experience. It asks things of you. It creates tension between where you are and where you want to be. It makes you restless, dissatisfied, unwilling to settle. And at some point, maybe without realizing it, you decided that restlessness was the problem. So you solved it. You arranged a life smooth enough that wanting couldn't take root. But wanting is the signal that you're still in contact with yourself. It's the indicator that something inside is still reaching. When it disappears, it doesn't mean you've found peace. It means you've traded aliveness for predictability. And the trade happened so slowly, you forgot you made it. What protected you once can limit you now. Comfort was necessary at some point. Maybe you were overwhelmed. Maybe you needed to recover from something that actually was too much. The retreat made sense. But retreats are supposed to be temporary. When they become permanent, they stop being shelter and start being containment. Something alive usually feels slightly inconvenient. It interrupts. It asks for more than you planned to give. It doesn't fit neatly into the schedule you've built to keep everything manageable. And that inconvenience isn't a sign that something's wrong. It might be a sign that something's finally right. The absence of wanting isn't maturity. It's not enlightenment. It's not the calm that comes after you've figured things out. It's a signal. A quiet one, easy to ignore, but a signal nonetheless. The life you've built to protect yourself has started to protect you from the things you actually need. What's the comfort you can't quit? Not the one you enjoy, the one you use to avoid being interrupted by your own life. This channel is for people whose lives work perfectly on paper, but feel somehow like rough drafts. If that's familiar, you're welcome to stay.